The reason I'm sharing such a like personal, deep, recent story, at least my belief, and maybe this is wrong, but at least my belief is, damn, like I look at my shit every day, all day, and there could still be stuff hidden in plain sight. And in a way, I know I don't need to give you guys permission. I think that's obvious. But in a way, I hope that telling this version of mine allows each one of you to go through the following process.
Welcome to the Ignited Recovery Podcast, a new way forward for anyone looking for answers but feeling left out. If you've been searching for empowerment, triumph, and purpose, you've found them right here. You won't hear the same solutions, and you're not going to have any excuses to fall back on, because Ignited Recovery allows heroes to rise and become their best selves. I'm Dr. Sophie Jaffe, and I can't wait to be your guide on this journey. Are you ready to become an ignited hero?
As we do our own work, sometimes we discover things that I'll just say were unknown to us, or maybe we didn't know we needed to focus on. And so sometimes there can be the sense of, I'll call it shame, lack of acceptance, sort of feeling like, what the hell's wrong with me that I'm still uncovering stuff. But one of the things that I'm finding is pretty cool when you can do it in your relationship is sharing that and revealing the impact that it has sooner rather than later. I think a lot of times in relationships, when we uncover something we want to deal with, we feel like we have to fix it first, or we have to get a handle on it first and then go to our partner with it. So I'll just give the specific example that just happened. I'm in the training. It's been an all weekend training. So I got here Thursday. Training started Friday and was all day, Saturday all day. And it was deep. It was about 22, 23 therapists training in this very specific psychedelic modality. So we got to know each other very, very well. And, I've been in this work for, 21 years, not psychedelics in particular, but just therapy. And as we were doing the work and given some of the stuff some of the books that I'm reading, I had this realization and I went, damn, I think that I have to have some trauma of some sort that I'm holding on to, that I haven't resolved yet, and that it's affecting my life and the life of the people around. When I said it to myself, it wasn't clear what the trauma was. Okay, I'll just start there. And the reason I'm starting there is the only way I knew that it was happening is we were all talking about symptoms of PTSD. And I'll name the symptoms if it's helpful, that made me realize it. And I'm listening to this. I'm like, fuck. There's something. I don't know what it is, but there's something. And, losing control of your emotions on the fly repeatedly, not acting in ways that are congruent with your intentions. So the guy, this is Bessel van der Kolk in The Body Keeps the Score, was the book that triggered this for me from the lecture that I was in earlier that day. And for me, the thing is anger and aggravation with my kids. That's where it really comes up. And then fear around money. So those are two of the things that come up and have come up for me, as far as I'm concerned, my whole life, but maybe not my whole life. So I'm listening to the lectures and I'm participating with the other therapists and I'm reading the book and I go, all right, I think there's something I don't know. And the reason I'm starting you guys at the beginning of that is you don't have to know what it is to start doing the exploration. Remember, hopefully by now you guys know the process, but explore, accept, transform. Explore, accept, transform. I realized something was wrong, right? Something triggered me and made me go, wait, something's off. So the next thing is not to fix it, because I don't know what I'm fixing yet. Explore. What is it that's going on? When I was pretty sure that there had to be something, I said something to my wife in a text, and she literally, her response was 100%. Like, there's 100% something you haven't figured out yet. And I'm like, thanks, hon. Thanks for the vote of confidence. Long story short, but it did reiterate that, okay, there's something. So now I have to dig in. Getting angry and upset out of nowhere, that's the one I decided to focus on. And as I started doing the work, a target came up, because you had to answer all these things about, what do you remember last, etc.
Hey everybody, it's a D again, and I want to share with you something that I believe is one of the most useful free tools I've ever created for my clients and for you. It's our free personalized My Drinking Score report. Look, you already know that at Ignited, we don't care much for labels and we don't believe in any of those once a blah, 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 always a blah, blah, blah slogan. But if you are questioning your specific relationship with alcohol, you may be trying to figure out how to understand what you need to do and whether you're moving in the right direction. Well, then this completely free tool is for you and will give you the answers you're looking for. All you're gonna do is you're gonna take a 5-minute quiz answering simple questions that you know the answers to. And then like magic, our system is gonna spit out a custom report so that you can find out more about your relationship with alcohol and actually get guidance and help to some of the changes that you can individually make. I created this tool to give you a customized, personalized virtual resource that you can take at any time, and that makes it easy to get the exact recommendations and steps that you need to help eliminate your struggles. Anybody can take it, and did I mention that it's completely 100% free? Well, it is. So stop running around in circles trying to figure out why you're having a hard time getting sober and get real solutions and guidance to help transform your life and get ignited forever. Just pause this audio right now and go to ignited.com/go. Again, that's ignited.com/go and take our 5-minute quiz right now. Find out what your drinking score is and then share it and tag us on Instagram or Facebook, because remember, fuck shame. Together, we get to move forward and get better every day.
And I think you'll understand in a second why I didn't start with my target, because the first thing that came up as a possible thing to work on was a night at Halloween. I think it was 2000. So 22 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, where I was robbed at gunpoint in my studio. It was back in my drug dealing days. A gun was held up against my head. I got hogtied, arms and legs behind your back. Then dragged around and beaten a little bit until I gave up where my drugs and my money were. And while that was going on, not only was the guy like beating, but also like throwing stuff around. And this was my recording studio, throwing stuff around, like kind of destroying my studio. The reason I didn't start with the story is when I tell the story, it's pretty fucking obvious I have a trauma to work on, right? Like 22 years ago, gun to the head, never done any real work on it, ever, not once. But I didn't start with it because I want to be clear. It's 22 years ago, right? I've lived 22 years. I knew the story. I've talked about it before. It's not like I forgot that it happened, but I wanted to just move past it. I wanted to succeed despite it. I wanted to prove to anybody that heard it that I was really strong enough. I really can defend myself. I'm not weak, right? All this stuff that was coming up while a guy's holding a gun to my head, robbing me of about $500,000 worth of drugs and money. In wanting to not confront the fact that this happened to me, I moved it to the side until 22 years later, I'm sitting in a room. By the way, I don't know that this is the only trauma I have to work through, but I'm just saying this is the first one that came to me, right? 22 years later, I'm a fucking therapist, right? I'm a psychologist. 22 years later, I'm sitting in a room in a hotel by myself going like, well, maybe I should start working on that gun robbery thing that happened 22 years ago. Like maybe that would be a good starting point. And I went to my wife. She actually barely reacted. Like I almost felt like it was obvious, became very obvious to me by talking to her about it. It's nobody else's work. It's my work. Nobody else can understand how big it was for me. Nobody else can fix it for me. It's just my work. And I think that's probably why I neglected it for so long. I don't want to look at it. In my head, as a man, as an ex-drug dealer, whatever, I want to believe that if somebody holds a gun to my head, I will beat them down. I will grab the gun from their hand. I will, that's what I want to believe would have happened, but that's not what happened. And so that there's a story attached to it for me. But I'll go back to how I started. Getting quickly aggravated, and especially when I get made to feel like I'm not strong enough. Oh, shit, that might have something to do with that moment. Fear on money. And like, no matter how much I have and no matter where I put it, I'm not safe. Oh, that might have a little something to do with the guy that robbed me of about $500,000 after like 6 years of work that it took to get that $500,000 that was mine. It's not hard to draw the links once I know the thing I'm looking at. It makes all the sense in the world, but I had to explore first. I had to dig in and go, okay, well, What's coming up? Anger, feeling unsafe, not feeling good around money. Well, what was that? What's the last thing? What's the big? And then eventually I got to this story. So I started doing a little work on it, but really where I am, and I don't know if you can tell that from me just talking about it, I'm really in acceptance right now. I haven't finished acceptance yet because, again, I know I'm being stereotypical and prejudicial and all that stuff, but as a man, there's definitely still part of me that believes I shouldn't have fallen victim to that. And I have to make peace with, look, that's just what happened. I can like it. I can dislike it. I can want it to turn out differently. Gun to my head, that's what I did. I said, oh shit, and allowed myself to be tied and all the other stuff that happened. The reason I'm sharing such a personal, deep, recent story, at least my belief, and maybe this is wrong, but at least my belief is, damn, I look at my shit every day, all day, and there could still be stuff hidden in plain sight. And in a way, I know I don't need to give you guys permission. I think that's obvious. But in a way, I hope that telling this version of mine allows each one of you to go through the following process, which is, as you're listening to other people talk and symptoms, things that are coming up in people's lives, fear, anger, inability to trust, wanting to be too aggressive or wanting to be too passive, whatever that is, you hear it in other people's stories and you're like, oh, I relate to that. Instead of only relating, what would it feel like to go in and go, I wonder what could be causing this? I wonder where that originated in my life. How long have I felt it? What could have brought it on, etc. Because you never know, in one exploratory moment or hour, it didn't take me more than 30 minutes to an hour to explore and I'm going to keep exploring about it, but to understand that this probably matters. And I have a pretty deep assumption that if I start doing the work behind this, there will be a lot of relief on the other end.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ignited Heroes Recovery Podcast. I really hope you found the information here useful and that we'll see you back here next week. And look, I want to make sure that this podcast is the most useful it can be for you, so please let me know by emailing info@ignited.com if there are any specific topics or questions you'd like to have addressed. As usual, if you like this episode, I would love for you to leave us a 5-star review and rating. Thanks, and see you next week.